everybody, Norm from Tested here at Wonderfest 2026, once again with Jason Eaton. Jason, in addition to the incredible monumental task of putting together the Van Nuys 76 model shop recreation, you also brought a selection of models that you worked on this past year.
I did, just what I'm doing in the basement, in the shop.
A couple years ago, we chatted with you about your pursuit of the perfect X-Wing. And as people have seen now, there are many, many X-Wings that were built for Star Wars: A New Hope, but you've brought a new one that's not in that room.
Correct.
This is your latest pursuit of perfection?
Yes, it is. It's always iterative. This is essentially my attempt to make a real beautiful representation of an X-Wing fighter, not exactly an ILM-specific model, but Red 5, more like how you saw it on screen, and then to hold up to closer scrutiny, a little bit of extra detail here and there.
It's a different type of requirements as a replica.
Yeah.
This is
it frees me up a
perfection in the
bit.
mind.
Yeah, and just building it for myself, the paint details are a little more closer to an armor model than it is like the filming miniature vibe, because you wanted that more granular detail, and it's just fun. It's a little more creative,
Okay, so let's start with what's changed since the past 2 years. Have you learned more about the X-Wings?
Yeah, this hobby is lovely in that there's always something new reference-wise percolating to the surface to tell you what you did wrong last time. And I never get tired of making the X-Wing, and it just sort of seems like, you get more reference photos, you get a new part, you realize you did something not wrong, but you could do it a little better next time. And it just sort of all coalesces into the build that you're working on. So I always say, this is the best one I've ever done.
So far.
And it's sort of, subjective.
You called it a sickness.
It is a lovely sickness. Yeah.
Okay, so point out the details here.
Okay, so this is Red 5. It's studio scale sized.
Yep.
It's Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, whole thing. There's an Arduino system inside that powers the lights. There's 2 different modes. So this is cruising mode. It has a metal armature. The wings are scratch built out of acrylic and styrene, sort of a, stacked like ILM did. Resin kit parts, some 3D printed parts like these engines are up detailed. So like the piping, there's more piping and it's sort of lifted off of the surface, things that a model styrene injection could not achieve.
And you have to choose where you want to up detail, as you said.
Where the eye goes. So like this is pretty much ILM, but the butt plate has a lot of extra detail because that seemed a little simple. And initially I was thinking of making a 1/12 scale one, and I was making the details for that, but it ports to 1/24 scale. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put it in a Studio Bird and see what happens. We jokingly call this the jewelry box, but this is like, the 1-to-1 filming cockpit. I had my friend Matt sculpt this incredible likeness of Mark Hamill. Even his little microphone is separated from his face. That kind of technology blows my mind. It's printed on a Form 4. Clear resin for the parts that were like clear turned acrylic on the actual prop itself. All of these pinstriping, that like classic Star Wars look. That's a decal that I used Solvaset, and it sort of melts the decal and snugs down.
I don't see any like lip, none of it's raised.
Yeah, no, it literally will melt the decal, and there's sort of a dark art to like smushing it down over, some of the printed stuff. So a little bit of,
That's interesting. I would have thought like, it's not a frisket. It's not a mask.
No. And I could never hand paint that. Like in a million years.
And that's all about getting that pinstriping to look like the metal lines are as perfectly horizontal and vertical as possible.
And then decals, we've researched the decals. I had micro scale in California. So these are water slide decals, like professionally silk screened. So you can read that little like 2-point text, And so like this little red dot, we thought was a dot, but it's actually a railroad decal. We figured it out because we got a better picture. And then this little word water next to it. I'm pretty sure water was the decal that was, it squiggles, but that kind of makes sense. That might be a port where they put his drinking water or whatever, coolant, who knows. There's little fins in the intakes. That sort of echoes the full scale, prop that they did. And then, the nose on this one is magnetically attached. So that's kind of a fun little, I have it.
For transport or for, okay, got it.
And actually the laser cannons are friction fit, those pop off too. That makes a huge difference. Anything that you can think would knock off if this wasn't so plumbed with all those wires, I would also have these sleeve in, but they're just anchored. There's like a ground, power, and a data wire in each of these.
Well, it's in cruise mode, but that tells me that there's another mode.
There's another mode. So, the classic locking S-foils in attack position.
Oh, look at that.
And what happens is this changes and the light gets a lot brighter, and then these flare up. There's neopixel rings in there, and that in cruising mode, the center one's not lit, and it's sort of like a lighter or a darker magenta, and then this is like a white hot, lighter magenta, like more intense, but it's that color that you see on the screen. So it's not red and it's not white. It's a magenta color.
It's so interesting. It's as if Lucasfilm required a physical shooting miniature of a Red 5 X-Wing today, they would do a version of this, but they still wouldn't, like, you're choosing and choosing the parts of the build that you like to do.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So this is more of
it's fun.
For you, right? Right.
Absolutely.
It's not.
But it's funny. I just talked to John Goodson recently about building the Razor Crest, and they use neopixels in the Razor Crest engine. So I'm like, that makes sense. That's perfect. You can program them. They're round. You get an even light. It's like that's the sort of futuristic thing. I'm like, we're living in 2026, and yeah.
I'm just noticing in the S-foils attack mode, you said this gets brighter, and that's brighter to get reflected off of its helmet visor.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the visor is clear printed resin on the Form 4, and it's like optically clear. All I did was dip it in Tamiya yellow to get that yellow tint. And you can see his eyes. It's amazing.
Did you approach the paint job any differently?
Yes, because I've gotten, again, better detail or better photography. So there's little colorations here, variations in panels that I didn't pick up on last time. That's there. And also, this is a moving target because you have photos of the way they first painted it, and then how it looked in Empire, how it looked in Jedi. So it's like a little bit of a nightmare for someone with OCD, but I enjoy the pick and choose. It's like a salad bar. Pick what you like. And then there's extra detail in these.
You're right.
insets.
I was noticing those too.
It's not real. People kept asking, "Oh my God, I've never seen that. What's that idea?" And I'm like, I made it up. Don't think that that's canon, please. Don't beat me up.
I appreciate that you're still not sick of the X-Wing. That you as many X-Wings as someone like you has made, you can still find a version of it.
Yeah. I want more. Yeah. I feel like it's like the flying circus from World War I. It's like everybody's got their own massively colorful, different livery, and I have this unrealistic fantasy that I'm going to build one of each and keep them, and then have them all, sort of mounted on the wall or something. I'll tell my wife that, and she's like, "Yeah, you're never going to. That's not going to happen." They seem to leave the nest.
Oh my God!
Because I like building. I'm like, yeah.
Well, from the X-Wing, you also brought other stuff. Can we move on to these droids?
Yes. Okay.
Now there's a whole fleet here.
Yeah, because I love to keep myself unrealistically busy. In 1982, during the production of Return of the Jedi, ILM made 2 welding droids.
These 2 right here.
These 2 right here. And they, talking to Bill George, he surmises that maybe the matte department built them. He goes, I don't think the model shop built these. I think, he said, sometimes the matte department would kind of want to, who doesn't want to build a model?
Yeah.
And there's a storyboard. I have it for the plaque, graphically. But they storyboarded it and they never shot it. And these were sold at Prop Store. They were off our radar. We had no idea they existed. And it must have come from somebody's private collection that worked on the film. But it was really interesting to me because they use a turret and a helmet combination. So there's this Scout Trooper helmet.
Oh, I see it. It's upside down.
Yeah. And a turret. And then the old NPC Vader helmet and another turret. And this is the Go Motion puppet casting from the Scout Trooper. And I thought, all right, why don't I challenge myself to make one a month with a turret helmet combination? And so this is January through May.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like I'm using up parts I normally wouldn't be able to use up. It's a very creative exercise. It's super fun. And, I get to do different paint jobs. I'm using up the paint that I've mixed that I don't have any use for.
Yeah.
Like the Boba Fett helmet one, I had like 5 jars of paint, and I thought, I'm going to make a brown. If I mix all these together, it's going to make a brown. It made a green. I was like, okay, because I kind of didn't want to be so literal on the nose. you know, a green Boba Fett helmet. But
What a
that's what
magic
the-
trick.
that's
Let's
what
go
the-
through. Okay, so
yeah.
you got Boba Fett's helmet here.
Yeah.
C-3PO there.
Yeah. 1B.
Yes, 2-1B.
Which I love that this turret just socketed there with his little Shure microphone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Stormtrooper helmet
Yep.
there. And then,
This one's a trickier one.
oh, it's Imperial Gunner.
Yeah, you got it. Yep, with a little Matilda.
Yes, I had to look from this angle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So I've cheated a little bit, like with the helmets or the droids, because you run out of helmets pretty quick. So I'm like, I'll do droids too. So those are 3D printed elements. And the thing I also love about this is I don't size them to a turret. I just put them on the, you know, the preform software for my form printer and just make it a size. I'm like, that's about right. And then once it's printed, I then go to my turret collection that I'm never going to use on any of the models because I never use them, and I see what fits. And sometimes, like the Stormtrooper one, it just literally fit, like friction fit. Like that you can't plan. If I tried to plan for that, I would screw it up.
Well, it's still has that DNA in Star Wars, but it also has a little bit of mecha, machining Krieger.
There's a machining Krieger. My old machining
Yeah.
Krieger, like that crept in.
That industrial look.
Yeah,
the rusted
the
industrial
sort of
look.
muscle memory
Yes.
of Mac came in absolutely.
As a creative exercise. Give yourself a deadline, give yourself some constraints.
Yeah, I'm already ready for June's in my head. It's probably going to be Eve 99.
So you're continuing the rest of the year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a plan for next year's, which is also equally ridiculous. But and I realized pretty quickly, because they used some motorcycle parts. I'm like, if you buy a motorcycle, it comes with a frame, and if you're careful the way you cut it, you can get 2 different droids' arms out of the sections of motorcycle frame, 1/12 scale. So that's also that becomes like a side challenge, you know.
Every part of the sprue.
Right. Yeah. We use all of the buffalo. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
And then you have some concept maquettes.
Yeah.
That you love taking concept art that came from the production and physically realizing them. We saw you do a Bomar Monk before. This is another Bomar Monk?
That is the sketchbook Bomar Monk. So there was a sketch of the Bomar Monk. It's on that little stand right there. This is just another way for me to make sure that my creative juices are flowing. You know, while making a replica of something is fun, you're almost painting by numbers in a way. You know, I like to be creative. So this is just an excuse for me to like sculpt a gross looking alien brain and solve the engineering problems of the weight. So there's steel rods all the way through all those legs. So yeah. And then the probe pod, I was, again, there's a sketch, and it's like the probe droid pods that exist, but those 5 little tank bodies or armored car bodies are flipped around, which I thought was interesting. And then the rest of that whole like mechanized shield business on the bottom, that they didn't ever, physically make that as an ILM model. So that sets that apart. And then another excuse to make a fun deco.
Yeah. In the 4 years we've been chatting with you at Wonderfest, you've incorporated more and more resin printed parts. You talk about being in the software. How do you balance how much time you want to spend in front of a computer looking at a digital model to then scale and print, and then at the workbench?
Yeah. The most fun is always going to be the traditional cutting a part off of a sprue, gluing it down. The analog, as much as it's sort of not analog, the hand hewn stuff. But my hands are really bad. I've had 5 hand surgeries. So like that initially scared me into learning Rhino like in 2016. And it's another tool in the toolbox. I will think like, what's the fastest way to get a base form so I can get to the good stuff, which some people call the frosting, like on a cake, the little planton parts.
Right.
So there's a balance, and I try to keep it, try to keep the workflow logical so that there's a couple things that are very heavily 3D influenced, and then there's stuff where it's barely used at all, or it's just an underform. So
you're picking the parts of the process that you like the most, and then so you're not necessarily carve or sculpt bucks and vacuum forming things. Right.
And also I don't really have a ton of room in my shop, so I don't have a lathe. Unfortunately, I've got a vacuum former, but it's very modest. It's pretty small. So I think it's just to facilitate like speed, hand wear and tear. Like I do like to hand sculpt, but if I can avoid a lot of sanding, I will. And it is, it's like how quickly can I get to the pleasurable part of finding little interesting things and gluing them down. And like these guys, besides the helmets, the 3D printed helmets, everything else is just donor stuff, because you amass so much of it that you don't use necessarily elsewhere, because ILM didn't use it, and I don't want to throw it away, and it starts piling up. So I'm like, I gotta shift for a minute and do that, and it's like a palette cleanser. Yeah.
Well, it's all from the same palette anyway of parts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then next year, this is a maquette that Lauren Peterson built for Empire, a replica clearly of the Super Star Destroyer, and I thought I might next year do one of those a month. And that's only really going to just be laser cut styrene and kit parts from like 1/700 ship models, 1/1200.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super Star Destroyer a month.
Yeah. Or Star Destroyer shapes. Yeah. Imperial wedge shaped vehicle.
A wedge a month.
Yeah. And maybe I'll leave them gray. I mean, like I kind of like the beauty of just the gray maquette. If you see in the archives all of the episode 1 speeders, it's just like a sea of these beautiful designs, and they're just primed. Yeah.
I like that look. Sometimes leaving the bare armature, sometimes leaving just the prime.
Yeah.
It gives the whole spectrum of the feeling of being in the model shop, like what you guys are trying to do in the Van Nuys room. There's one more model that you have in this display room that will make it to the Van Nuys room. Can we go check it out?
Absolutely.
All right.
It's a modest size landspeeder.
Modest. Wow. So because this is going to belong in the Van Nuys room, did they have this? Is this a replica of a model?
Yes and no, because I can't, do it easy. ILM made a 1/5 scale landspeeder. That the Steve Austin figures were what they put in. For
that's why he's there. Okay.
Obi-Wan and Luke. I had data from the 1-to-1 prop vehicle that it's been at the Peterson Museum. I took a lot of photos there when it was, I don't know if it's still there, but when it was there and I was there, took a lot of shots. And I decided, okay, I'm going to make a 1/5 scale studio landspeeder, but I'm going to up detail it and try and make it look as close to how it did in Tunisia in '77. So, this is really hyper detailed. I had a couple really nice photos of how it looked at the time. It looks different now because it's been knocked around and they've used it in episode 1, and then it's been
has had many lives.
Yeah. And I think they built 3, and I think they used 2. There was one that was on a gimbal, and then there was a driving one, and this is the driving one. Except this is very clean. In the film, you can see, depending on the scene, it's either that sort of cleaner nacelle or it's like almost dark gray solid, and that's how it looks, dark gray solid now. So, I've had a couple of people say, oh, you didn't weather it all the way. And I'm like, yeah, it was a conscious decision for the state it was in for a hot minute, before they weathered it again or whatever.
Was this from a donor buck? Was it from a kit?
This was, I think, the last project where I hadn't quite learned 3D, and I had a friend. I had CAD data. I had solid CAD data. Someone actually measured the whole thing, and they gave it to me. And I gave that information to another friend who had Rhino, and he built sort of the initial shapes. I sent that to a shop that was able to mill it out of Ren shapes. It was like 60 pounds in about 5 sections. I glued it all together. I sanded it down, bit of a hand killer. And then I did that trick where you put tape down and you spray it, and wherever you pull the tape up, and that makes the panel lines. And so that was the pattern. Then we had that molded and cast. So this is rotocast resin, not nearly as heavy as the master.
Yeah.
And then these are the metal ones? I think these are metal. Some were made in aluminum, and we laser cut some of the other ones, depending on. We only had the shop make a certain amount of aluminum ones.
Oh, yeah.
But those are just stacked.
Yeah.
It's like a very certain shape that sockets in there. I love little touches like the hole in the screen on this one engine. Which makes me think, like, I love when there's a little bit of a story. Like, did debris go in there, and that's why the cowling is off because he needed to make a repair? It's like really cool, like it's sort of an in-universe thing. And I added some, oil stains here. I don't think that's on the model, but I felt like, Luke would be a little sloppy. This is a total beater, So yeah.
Did you have mounting points here as if for the studio scale model?
No, but I kind of want to make another one, and make those holes in the side where it was on like that round rotary gimbal thing, and then put the grills in so you can see the hole through there. That would be deep nerd,
For another V2.
Yeah.
So when you guys made that rotocast, do you have a lot of castings of this that you can go back to and say
No, I've got another one that's been in my storage for like, I don't know, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. I think I could probably get a couple more made, but this is like a project that we did a little short run of, and then it was like, how many people have room?
Yeah.
I don't have room. My plan for my personal one is to put it on, like, make it a wall hanger.
Yeah.
So, anchor a mount point on the underside and just stick it on the wall.
It becomes storage places for your other figures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jason, unending projects. You give yourself plenty to work on, plenty of work.
I do. I keep busy.
Thank you for sharing with us all your
Always
extracurricular projects in addition to the incredible room that you guys built here at Wonderfest.
Yeah, thank you.